It's giving me all sorts of instructions. Okay, so this morning I wanted to talk to you guys about how to pick out a fish. A lot of times people go into aquarium shops and they get really, really excited and they're like, oh, that's the fish I want to take home. And they don't think about it and they do a lot of impulse buys. And I want to give you some tips and encourage you not to impulse buy, but tell you how to pick out a good fish. So, for starters, one, do your research beforehand. Have an idea of what kind of fish you want. And the example that I'm going to use today is Frank. So I knew for a while that I wanted a cowfish. And there he is back there. Hey, Frank. I knew for a while that I wanted a cowfish. And so I would go to my local aquarium shop and I would kind of scope them out. And the one day I went in, they had 4 cowfish in a tank. Cowfish really probably shouldn't be that many in a tank. And so Frankie is very big. I've had him for 4 years. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you hanging out with me this morning. Um, so I went in, there were 4 of them in the tank. They were all seemed to be doing fine. And then, over the course of the week, I kept stopping by. And towards the end of the week, I noticed they weren't doing so hot. There was one that was kind of laying on the ground. There was one hiding up in the corner. There was Frank, and then there was another one that wasn't doing so hot. And Frank is kind of like picking on and like harassing the one that wasn't doing very well. And I realized, I'm like, Frank is the one that I want to take home. Because the fact that he's not dead, so that's good. He's not cowering in the corner, so he's not afraid of anybody. He looks healthy. I asked my shop, I'm like, hey, is he eating? Can you feed him for me? I want to see him eat. And that's something that you should always ask your shop, like, hey, feed them. I want to make sure that they eat. I want to see them eat. They can say that they saw them eat all they want, but until you see them eat, that's the only way to know. So I asked them to feed Frank. Frank is a champ. Frank eats just about everything. Frank eats my finger on a fairly regular basis if I put it in there, if I have it in there long enough for cleaning. So I know Frank is a fighter, and knock on wood, Frank has been here with me for 4 years, and I made a good choice. Something else that you want to take into consideration when it comes to picking out new fish, go and look at the other tanks around the tank that the fish you want is in. The reason I say this is because a lot of aquarium places, their systems are all connected together. So even if all the fish in your tank look good and healthy, doesn't mean to say that the fish in tanks 2 down aren't. They might have those spots for ick, and if you don't look, you're not gonna know. And one of the things that I always recommend is make sure that you quarantine. Always, always quarantine your fish. Just because it looks fine doesn't mean it is fine. I'm not going to get into ick life cycle, but it's 7 days. You might not always see those spots. They could be hanging out in the bottom of the tank. Oh, there we go, I'm back. I lost connection for a brief minute. So yeah, always make sure that you look in the surrounding tanks and make sure that the fish are healthy in the tanks that are around your fish. Ask them how their systems are set up, if it's all on one system. And then even still, quarantine your fish when you get it home. Frank was quarantined for 30 days before he went in my system, so quarantine all the time. So those are the tips that I have. I recommend always doing your research before you buy fish. Knowing what fish, don't impulse buy. I'm guilty of that. I've done that once or twice. I learned my lesson the hard way. I bought a sponge crab and a decorator crab. I'm like, oh, these guys are so cool. And I had some like little green clove polyps in my tank, and I really loved them. And like Frank didn't mess with them; they were safe. But sure enough, those crabs loved them. Those crabs were like, oh, I need to decorate my shell. I would like go and pick off the polyps and put them on their shell, and so I no longer had any clove polyps in my tank. It was sad. So yeah, always do your research, quarantine your fish, ask the people at the store, tell them you want to watch the fish eat. There's my sailfin tang behind me. He's like, what are you doing? I see this light. What are you doing? My sailfin tang came to me when he was little teeny tiny baby, like maybe a little bit bigger than a quarter. He had really, really bad scarring as a baby, and the store's like, we can't sell that. Nobody's gonna want a fish that's that scarred up. So I have him and I love him, and he's scarred and he still has a good home. But yeah, always quarantine your fish, always ask to see them eat, look around the other tanks, make sure that the other fish are healthy. You don't want to be introducing ick or velvet or anything into your tank, even your quarantine tank, if you don't have to. Hey, thanks! Yay, puffers! I love pufferfish. Boxfish and pufferfish, they have so much personality. Like, you really can't go wrong. Hey, thanks for joining from Brazil. Man, I had somebody on the Instagram this morning from Turkey. I'm getting to talk to people from all over the world. Yay! So, I know in the US we do things a little bit differently. I don't know if you guys have a big holiday week this week, but here we have a whole bunch of Jersey. Rock on. I don't know if you guys are having a bunch of big sales, but my local store that I also work at part-time, they're going to have a big Black Friday fish bash. They've already posted some auctions up on Facebook with some cool little coral frags. Excuse me. Oh, forgot to show you guys my coffee mug this week. Yay! It's got little surfboards and crabs. It's a beach scene. Inside, you can't see it because it's filled up with coffee, but I've got what looks like a Moorish idol and like a butterfly fish inside. I love all my cute aquatic themed coffee stuff. Coffee. Yeah, coffee. So, hopefully you guys have safe travels this week, and you see some really cool pet stores, fish stores. If you see any really cool fish, hop on Instagram or Facebook, send a message. I'd love to see the cool fish that you guys are finding. Let's see, what else was I going to tell you? Oh, I know. We had somebody write in and they were asking, they have a freshwater tank and a saltwater tank, and they were trying to figure out what a good food is that they could buy that will work for both their freshwater and their saltwater tank. And so you can get Thera A. Thera A is really popular. A lot of people love it. It's a great food when it comes to introducing new fish in your tank. It helps to boost their immune system, so that's always a good option. But personally, my favorite right now, and it's our newest in the line of foods that have come out, is the probiotics. Probiotics is good for both freshwater and saltwater fish. You can get it in a variety of sizes, small, regular, medium, large. It's great. It's going to boost your fish's gut health, and it's also going to help improve your water quality in your tank. Frank loves it. He usually eats a lot of Algae Max. We have some Thera A too, but I think his favorite is the probiotic. He goes nuts. He'll just like awkwardly bob like at the surface as soon as they hit the water, and then once they float down to the bottom, he tries to steal them from crabs. He's ridiculous. But probiotics, yes. All the puffers. Yeah. I wish I had a picture of my first fish that got me to fall in love. It's a little South American puffer. Probably maybe like the size of my pinky, super teeny tiny, but man, the personality in those guys. Almost like Frank. So yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that I had to tell you guys. If you have any questions, comments, stuff that you think you would like to talk about, a dialogue you would like to start with me and other aquarium hobbyists and professionals and industry people, please feel free to drop a line, send a comment. I always read those and try and respond in a timely manner. I've got a new phone recently, so it's like switching the apps between phones. It's glitching out a little bit, but I always try and get to your comments and respond, and I love hearing and talking to everybody. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week and look forward to talking with you again next Monday, same time. I start my Instagram lives 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time, so we would love to have you join us. And usually it's me, and then one of my coworkers from the main office in Miami is also on the chats. So if you have any sales related questions, she's always really, really helpful at answering those. So again, everyone have a good week. I look forward to talking with you guys next week. Thanks for joining.